Okay. I'm gonna just be doing what I normally do, which is trying to make sure that my settings are alright, but other than that I should be pretty good for once, because they've been working pretty well for the last couple of times. But yeah, welcome to the stream. Anyone who actually decides to watch or otherwise, I'm glad to see anyone here, and so forth. Just trying to make sure that I have all of my viewing options up. Cannot tell if my stream is actually running because I cannot pull it up on some of my other, or on how I watch it I should say, which is through another device. Let me double check one last time and then I should be good. It appears to be working, so I should be able to start. But yeah, of the things here, this is just the best looking one. The other ones aren't all that interesting, but yeah. Now comes the question of, should I change up my blessing build? I'm not too sure. I think ultimately I'm just gonna have to stick with the build I'm running now, which is fairly powerful, yeah. Reptilian Hunger and Grace the Tempest being two of the best ones, depending on how well you can play, and in my opinion, Serpent's Bounty being one of the best swing sort of items, just because of how effectively you can reverse a situation from being terrible to being amazing, just by way of getting a significantly larger amount of drops in general. But yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with that. And I'm probably going to be, well, the title of the stream is Curse the Timer, and I am going to be making some more attempts at the Death and Jaguar and Death and Serpent. So we'll see how that goes. This path seems pretty solid, so I'm gonna go with it. As you've seen with my other actual attempts of this, the first attempt ending in literal tragedy, and the second almost beating Tomahawk, this mode is very much hit or miss in the way it works, because you can see in the bottom left next to my health bar there's this friendly little timer there, and if that timer ever reaches 0, I die. And so you have to play very much aggressively and only do what you think you can afford, and I thought that I could gain some time by going to that room, and I did gain, I think, a little bit of time in the Bear's End, as well as get some drops, which is ultimately what I wanted more, but yeah. The goal in a lot of ways is to just kind of speed through, and I really shouldn't be picking up crystal skulls, but I want them, so I do. And thankfully while you're in these menus it pauses it, but yeah. Level on main or on secondary isn't as helpful because I'm mostly using main weapon, so I'm going to roll through these. And each bead kill removes corruption is just something that will help me sustain throughout this run, and what I think I'm going to run overall. Just because of it basically giving me free reign to do much riskier plays than I would normally. That curse is kind of annoying because it's going to mean that if I'm not paying good enough attention to the map, which I wasn't before, I'm probably going to miss out on some extra opportunities. But it should be fine. I'm going to check what part of the map. Nothing too important got hidden. I can't actually remember whether it was this side or this side that was a weapon upgrade, but I believe it was this side, so I'm going to go for that way. And basically, this is going to be a lot of just running through areas that I can afford to run through and trying to finish the other ones that I can't as quick as possible. I'm not going to go back for that crystal skull, though I did just notice that they dropped a relic there and I did not pay attention enough to grab it. Which is definitely a pretty major mistake, seeing as I have no relics currently. And so any kind of relic would have been a great pickup at this point. I need to try and make better use of the whip that I'm running as well. It's just like an additional way to do damage, and obviously more damage is what I want here, because I'm on a very limited timer to get through any kind of room. What am I looking for in relics or weapons? In weapons, I'm looking for just probably a better secondary or possibly a better heavy, and for relics, I'm looking for just some kind of damage to help speed things up, really. I'm going to be taking a lot of corruption early on, and as you saw there, I took a pretty bad hit because I was trying to rush through the room. But ultimately, besides the 2% damage loss, it's ultimately not going to matter all that much. I just realized, I believe that was a question mark room we were just in, like a basic question mark, so it would have, it effectively gave us an additional weapon upgrade, and Sincere Offerings is very, very powerful, because it means I can do Corruption Offerings, which are massive, massive cost for upgrading cursed weapons. I can do them pretty much scot-free, because it's just health, and there's a number of ways to regenerate health that I can do. And if I have the opportunity to make myself as high damage as possible, I'm obviously going to go for that on this kind of run. I'm going to try and take out the Headless Guardian as much as possible. I do manage to do it. The Cursed Weapon, if you didn't see at the beginning, basically any finisher attack or charge combo attack will interrupt enemies, and it's one of the most powerful in my opinion. There's obviously some demerits to it, which is if you can't effectively interrupt enemies constantly, then there's no real point. But in general, it just rewards you for doing what you're already doing anyways. So it's a very nice kind of thing. Our damage is actually getting quite sizable at this point. Unfortunately, I had to backpedal there a bit, but as you can see, I believe that's a 3-hit on Dead Wives with my basic combos. And the more greed kills I get, the higher this Reptilian Hunger is going to build, which is more damage and more gold, as well as, obviously, if I have a high greed, that means I'm doing rooms well enough that I will have very high, or I'll most likely have done no damage in them, or taken no damage. Which will give me additional dexterity, and obviously dexterity is just more damage. I don't believe it's worth my Divine Favors at this point to do any kind of weapon. Weapons could be nice, but I think ultimately I'm just going to want to burst through as much as I can to get to these weapon upgrades and move on, because my damage is very, very nice for basically just one weapon. This room is perfect for me. Challenge room means that I can bolster the gold that I've spent over the course of the run, as of now, as well as just get some to spend later. Unfortunately, I messed up some of these swings there, so it took a bit longer than it could have, but I will be getting a large, large amount of gold for doing that. And yeah, 7k gold, nearly at the end of the first room. I'm at the end of the first room, yeah. That does, I think, mean that the weapon upgrade was on the left path, but either way, I still did end up with 2 weapon upgrades, so that's fine by me. pretty quickly combo the Jaguars, which is very good news, at least for me, because it means I don't have to deal with as much irritating enemies, basically. As you can see, my damage right now is insane. That as long as I can dodge the enemy and recharge my stamina here, he should be dead, actually. Yep. Very, very fast fight against the first boss, the Hunter. Or Blood Huntsman, I believe is what his name is. I did not get his rare drop, and I am going to remove Blurred Vision. Actually, I wish I could pull up the map right now. Thankfully the timer's not going. If I had been better at checking, I could have seen if I was given any health options. I think I am getting rid of a curse. It's hard. I have a large enough gold that I don't think I'll need Sincere Offerings, and it's currently putting me at very heavy risk in terms of my health pool. I'm not going to give up my main weapon. Same for this. Less corruption through doors is just nice. This is just a better whip, basically. Lower rarity, but it has a much better effect in my opinion. This could gain an additional effect, but I'm going to just take what I can get now and probably end up replacing it, and 8% healing is something I would want, so I'll take it. As you can see, there's a lot of unknowns here, which is very unfortunate, so I think I'm just going to have to go for the most optimal of what I can see, which is attributes and then a weapon upgrade. Hopefully one of these 3 question marks that are covered up will be a weapon upgrade, because that gives me a very solid boost in my damage at this point. Or a relic. Relics work as well, very well, to say the least, depending on what they are. For example, if I get damage in darkness, it's just a flat damage boost, basically. It would be a benefit, but I'd rather lose the corruption here, just because less corruption, the more blood offerings I can do, and the more blood offerings I can do, the better state I'll be in with this kind of build. Especially on this kind of run. I definitely shouldn't have dodged in a direct line along the way of the Deadeye. The Deadeyes have a very good chance of just hitting you through your dodge, but thankfully it didn't get punished there. I'm not going to go for the skull just because it's a waste of time. And that's ultimately what you're going to have to do. Ultimately what you're going to have to do on these runs is, like, I know there's a little bit of extra gold on both those directions, but I can't afford the time it would take to go there. It would have been an okay decision to pay corruption for that, but paying gold restores a bit of my health, and it gives me the opportunity to save that corruption for later on. I also have well more gold than I would ever conceivably spend anytime soon. Fortunately got double hit there because I messed up with my stamina timing and got hit by both of them. And I do see the relic back there, but I do not believe I'll have time to run back for it before the, fire ignites it. I could have if I had paid better attention beforehand, but I did not. That was a very bad room. Really shouldn't have taken any damage in this room, because it's very easy, one of the easiest rooms in my opinion. As I take another hit. But yeah, this is just kind of trying to get back into the flow of things. It's my first game of the night, and so forth. I'm gonna go for a quick elimination on these. I do realize now that part of why I'm feeling like there's very weird damage is because I lost my greed stacks, which means that I lost a majority of my damage. By majority, I mean it was upwards of, I think, I got to like 22 for the most part, which is that amount of damage, 22% damage, but yeah. Death Wives. Yeah, this is still worth it. It starts becoming a lot less worthwhile when it breaks into the range of the 2000s. Just puts on a lot more risk, basically. But yeah. I do definitely want the weapon upgrade, so I'll have to stick this main path. I just have to avoid taking any excess damage at this point, so I am going to play it extremely safe, even at the cost of a bit of time. As you see there, I'm very easily able to clean up basic lurkers now, including the ones that they spawn. It's a nice amount of gold I could have just branched off for, but as I mentioned before, I'm trying to save as much time as possible. That was just very bad dodging there, and I didn't notice that the way out was up here. I'm not going to go for the extra gold, I'm just going to grab what's in my path and move forward. Really should probably go for the Death Wife here, because her attacks are very, very much sped up thanks to the difficulty tier I'm on, but yeah. 3 Constitution right now is very nice. It'll give me a temporary health boost and allow my healing effects to do slightly more until I get rid of it, as well as the effect is just kind of nice, depending if I do any gold offerings, which I have a large pool of gold to do. So with this appears to have just been a basic gold room, which is fine. I'm going to increase the gold limit, as well as give me a bit more Constitution for more HP. Timer is looking okay. I would definitely prefer it to be higher. I always am going to prefer the timer to be higher, basically. It's just the nature of these kind of things. I feel much more comfortable if I just had more time available to me. I like to play a bit slower than some others would, but yeah. And that's with a lot of roguelikes, is it's easier to play slower, and so that's where the nice part of this challenge comes in, and that it forces you to play so aggressively compared to how you would otherwise play. Really need to get rid of trying to avoid taking extra damage to the fire, and I do manage to get out without being burned, which is nice. You saw there I was backpedaling with without my torch out. I really should never be doing that, just because it puts me at a risk to take a hit from traps I may not notice, but yeah. Didn't end up mattering here, which is great. Oh, there's a gold chest there. Don't need a bow. 50% damage taken in gold, unnecessary really. I'll just take the corruption reduction. As you see, I'm heavily maintaining my corruption here, thanks to a mix of the reduced corruption through doors, as well as the greed kills returning corruption. I am going to full heal here. I'm going to be extremely precautious, and as I said before, I have very good control at this point over my corruption, so it's fine if I use some of it. These are always arena fights, so I'm just going to do my best to clear it, basically. That was a very dumb decision by me in lowering my stamina too much there. It almost made me get a hit, but thankfully did not. One thing I really do love about this weapon is it allows me to stop Jaguars in their tracks, and I've said many times over I hate Jaguars, and I think within good reason. But yeah, the easier I can deal with them, the better for me, basically. I'll do some heavy backpedaling there just to make sure that I can deal with everything and not get hit by the end of the swing. Really shouldn't be going for that, those extra crystal skulls, but I just can't resist because of how many I need to upgrade in the altars. As you see, I can well afford the cost to upgrading my main weapon, and I'll keep it moving. This boss is going to be a bit rough, but I should be able to push enough damage phases early on that I should be fairly fine. I am going to roll up to the boss, and then just start comboing, basically. With this boss especially, the faster you get through phases, the better off you'll be. I was a bit worried about that attack pattern in specific, and I got very lucky there with just the edge of my dodge counting. But as you can see, it's very hard to determine whether or not the boss is going to do this attack pattern or the other, so it's just always good to be prepared for both. And you always want to kind of roll at the end of the previous set, just because it means that you will avoid some of the issues that come with coming with their attacks, because that last little lunge can often hit you. I paused it to kind of finish my thought, as well as just take note of the damage I took and remember the fact that I have double damage taken on right now. so I gotta actually focus up as hard as I can. I'm gonna push as much damage here and then just backpedal. As you can see, the phase transition is one of the better places to do any kind of damage you're going to do. Very bad that I was low on stamina there. Could have been a pretty big risk for me, but thankfully I'm fine, and this should be a wrap for the fight. So I did end up taking a hit on this fight. Took a very sizable chunk of my health for that hit, but overall a pretty clean fight. So I will lose the covering on the map finally, which I appreciate, and I am just going to full heal off of that. This is insane. That's currently giving me a 30%, no, a 60% damage increase. Oh boy. Yeah, that's very, very powerful. Level +1 with secondary weapon is okay. I'm not really using my secondary weapon, but it's a fine replacement for the 5% heal, basically, because of the amount of perception that it gives. It's a hard decision here, but I think I'm just going to give up the old one for more dexterity, because I'm at a point where I don't really need as much perception. I would prefer perception. Actually, I think this is a fine trade. It's just a bit of a hard decision, because the 3 Constitution by itself would be very nice, but also this is 5 dex, and I'm taking half corruption compared to what I would otherwise take, which is going to let me take so many more corruption offerings in this, which will help keep my gold above the 10,000 that I need to effectively get all that I want. This path is pretty optimal. It gives me the option of up to 3 relics. I can take 2 and then go to a challenge to replenish my funds, and so forth. I should have noticed that there was a blood priest there and gone after it first, but I didn't. Thankfully still able to clean it up. Dropped a relic I don't care about. So I'll just take 3 benefits. That was a very, very bad situation, and that's what I mean when I say you have to be managing your stamina, because I just took a significant amount of damage, like possibly even run losing amounts of damage to that. I shouldn't have gone for the Crystal Skull. Oh boy. It's very unfortunate that I took that damage there. It was a mixture of factors and me backpedaling and then accidentally doing an additional swing, which meant that I was still within the range of the enemy's thing, so I'm going to need something to help me here. 12 Constitution would be a dramatic help here, but this is before the boss. It's not as close before the boss, and I do have later options to spend my Divine Favor. That's a bit hard. I think I am going to take it over the +1 on the secondary. Actually, greed kill time, well, it's hard. Because greed kill timer is going to get ignored later on, but yeah, I'm going to do this. I don't need the perception, and this Constitution is going to be a pretty big health bump to make up for what I just lost. As well as make any healing effects I should get much better. I accidentally went the wrong route there, but thankfully it didn't end up costing too much time. Preference-wise, I would have wished that there was a way to restore my health, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to get out of these coming relics. This was just a bad time. I tried to backpedal because I didn't think I could afford to go over, and I took a hit for it, which is never what you want to do. Is overcorrect, basically. That was a interesting dodge that I somehow still succeeded in, but yeah. Go after the champion Headless Guardian here, just because it's a bit of a nuisance to deal in comparison to the Death Wife, which is a bit easier to manage. And I'm going to pretty aggressively backpedal here. I was confident that my stamina would be regenerated, and then it wasn't regenerated as fast as I thought, so I got a bit scared. Thankfully it doesn't end up mattering. I am going to actually push over for this gold, just because if I can grab a little bit on the way, it will benefit me later on. more than not taking it, I should say. Gonna look at this shield. This shield is exactly what I want. 25% parry chance gives me a solid chance of just living. And yeah, this is what I'm looking for. I'm gonna give up this, some of my corruption to do this offering. It keeps me above the 10,000 gold mark. That's what I want, or just about at the 10,000, which I can pretty easily make up, even if I just dip below. And so that's going to be a massive, massive damage increase. I'm going to be going to 2 weapon upgrades. I don't think I'm going to need the gold, because even if that's 90, and I'm going to get a challenge upgrade later, so yeah, Relic here is fine. 90, 180, and then at most 70 or 90 from the Relic leaves me basically fine. So now I'm just not going to light things on fire because I have a massive, massive damage boost in darkness. I got a very lucky dodge on the Deathlight in the back. Wasn't paying enough attention and didn't notice her till the last second, but thankfully I was still fine. I know there's extra gold up there, and a lot of it at that, but I am not confident in dealing with traps right now. 30% critical, and that is something I would really want to take, and I might just take it, but I think I need healing at this point more than anything else, because healing on criticals would be super nice. Criticals, I believe, affect my charge attack. Affects my charge and my finisher, which I can get off quite frequently. Probably replace this, so it would drop my health a bit, or otherwise. Am I gonna get any other use for I'm gonna get no other use for my thing, so yeah, I think I'm gonna have to just go for optimal here because of how many rerolls I have, and I'm not gonna get any other use for them, basically. 16 to single highest attribute is 16 to Constitution. It would be replacing this, so it's only like, I can't think, 13 Constitution? That's still a pretty massive amount, but I don't think it's good enough to warrant. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Each great kill restoring health is just insane. At this point I don't need the corruption reduction, because I sincerely doubt I will get Final Curse, and I meant to pay with corruption there, but I accidentally paid with gold, but it should be fine. Because now every time I get a kill, I will be healing a very, very solid amount, which is what I want. As you see, I'm able to pretty quickly wrap up enemies. I can take a free corruption reduction there thanks to the drop and go for a weapon upgrade. This run is looking very, very promising towards actually beating it. I have a decent amount of time on the timer, as well as a very, very strong build compared to what I've had before. Obviously I can still lose. That's just going to come down to player skill. And hopefully my player skill is sufficient. It's not sufficient, I've learned. Okay. I thought I dodged that, but I didn't actually dodge it. So that sets a bad precedent because it just dropped my damage by a lot, and obviously just not a good thing to take hits. But it's not the end of the world, especially at this point. Obviously gonna go after the Blood Priest first as much as I can. Now that everything else in the room is dealt with, I can deal with a Headless Guardian by himself and just kind of stun lock him. Or apparently miss my timing and take a second hit in this room, which is garbage. Yeah, the sped up timing on elites is very, very obnoxious sometimes, but you just kind of gotta learn to live with it. I'm gonna be taking a curse here. My first curse in a while, actually. And I'm hoping it's not something run-ending like the extra Divine Favors, because that could actually be run-ending at this point. But we'll see. Volatile Remains is fine. Enemies killed while on fire explode. I don't plan to light things on fire if at all possible, so I'm good with that. Very badly managed my stamina there, but thankfully I wasn't punished for it. I am going to back off just to avoid any risk of taking hits here, and then go after this Headless Guardian, which I do manage to do. I'm gonna sizable amount of gold, which puts me back over the threshold I want to be, and I'm basically good for the boss fight, because I'll spend corruption on this, get my last, I believe, curse in general, and then be done. Decent amount of time on the timer, it's always good to see. I'm gonna try and clear this room as best I can. I'm gonna go after the Jaguar first, though I do realize there's a second one, which is unfortunate. I'm gonna heavily backpedal here just to avoid dealing with both the dead wife attacking as quickly as possible and the Jaguar. More so the Jaguar, seeing as I couldn't one combo it. But just in general, it was a good idea to take my time with that, rather than put myself at any kind of risk. I do have to pay attention to volatile remains here, just because of the fact that they will be on fire. Or more likely than not they would, but they didn't end up, so that's cool. And I'm gonna offer blood here. Just had to make sure I was offering blood, because if I offered gold I would lose an insane amount of damage there, which would have been pretty bad. And so yeah, this has been a very, very nice run actually. Let's see the final curse. This could still screw me. Fool's Bounty entirely fine. Oh boy. So yeah, I'll show off the run real quick and then we can get to it. Oil Soaked Torch, 2+2. Tier 6, Abnegation, Isabel Zalok's Blade, sorry. Whispering Aegis for the auto parries, and then more Constitution, some Greed Healing, which is basically just Constitution at this point, Damage in Darkness, Doors less Corruption, increased Greed Timer, and obviously this is kind of insane for me. Got this is just a nice thing, 6% damage per 1,000 gold. I'm at the 10,000 cap, so that's 60% base damage. And yeah, I do have to be aware that I'm taking double damage with this out, but yeah. Volatile Remains and Fool's Bounty do nothing, so yeah, I'm good for the boss fight. And my timer is very solid at this point, so I have some room to make mistakes. Didn't want to make a mistake this early. I do have to be very careful of that very generous window he gives. For that, as well as just make sure I have enough stamina for 2 dodges to get out of range of that attack. The attack patterns are kind of insane right now. I don't know if this is just different because it's Death and Jaguar, but he's just constantly attacking. I don't appreciate that. I've already burned through about 30 seconds of timer. The interrupts do actually help with this boss. It allows me to get in some attack patterns while he's doing these obnoxious hit chains. But I do just want to make sure I maintain enough distance because any hits that I take are massive. As you saw there, even touching the fire for a second cost me 100 health. Unfortunately, thanks to the nature of him being in fire, I will lose the benefit of the Damage in Darkness, which will become more prevalent in this coming phase, where he is always on fire. But as you see, the interrupt effect doesn't actually stop his attack patterns, it literally just stops him from spam chaining them. It gives him that little bit of stagger there. That 3-hit combo is very nice to just have because I can deal with it fairly well. While I'm backpedaling, I need to remember to just swap off of the weapon because it is going to cost me a lot of HP if I make a bad move. Like that. Whew. I'm gonna take a breather for a sec, sorry. Thankfully he wasted his time during that phase by just spamming the fireballs, which is fairly easily dodgeable. When I saw that he was doing that attack pattern, I should have dodged to the side, but I kept dodging backwards instead, which nearly cost me a hit. Which would have been real unfortunate. I should do as I say and actually dodge to the side. Okay. I thought I could just outdamage there, and I thankfully could, but that explosion I believe would have one-shot me on this current tier with the double damage effect. So, very glad it did not. Whew. That was very surprisingly a first try of the day, clearing Death in Jaguar. Technically my second attempt, though it's third if you want to count the one where I did not kill a single enemy. But yeah, apparently the temple dealt the most damage to me, which is interesting. But very solid run, only about 21-minute playtime, which is much better than I expected. But yeah, 28k gold, very solid. New content will be available in next updates. For those not keeping up with the news of this game, there is apparently the developers are planning to release the Jaguar Temple at some point soon, which is very exciting. It's another thing to be able to play and just a nice thing to have available. It's kind of tempting to just dump all of my crystal skulls into the two-handeds just so I have a chance at getting the witch's staff, but yeah. I do really want the or another altar so I can more effectively use those. I don't think these are quite good enough to deal with Death and Serpent at this point, if I'm gonna be real. So I think I'm just going to take this and go into a quick event run. Sure, for blood and gold. Basically, at this point, I don't really care about this run. If I die, it gives me another selection of, what's it called? Of weapons, and on top of that, if I do manage to clear it, then it's just a lot more crystal skulls for me. And that's kind of how I treat a lot of challenges at this point. I don't quite know what's... oh yeah, Bloodlust. This basically just replaces enemy, or starts me with the Bloodlust curse, as well as I believe a couple of other curses, which means that I won't really be getting much gold. Okay, yeah. So I didn't dodge well. And that gave me a 22-second playtime, because yeah, that was the gimmick of the thing that I kind of forgot about, which is I start on no health. Huh. Kinda gotta come to terms with that. Just like, whoa, I just died. This is one of the interesting. Citral's treasures can very quickly boost your gold, but I've yet to find a use for having that drastic amount of gold. That looks fun. That looks alright. Also pretty fun, actually, now that I think about it. It's actually kind of a tough decision between the two there. And that's just less good. Weaken, and then a bunch of damage, basically 10% free damage, or sorry, 12% when I have full relics, as well as 30% against burning, and this has a chance to burn, so it could work, and that also has a base weaken. This is interesting, because this pistol basically just lets you easily do free shots, but the fire does almost nothing, and the constitution is just a small scaling modifier. The lightning mace is what I care more about, which is 30% damage in darkness, just a solid benefit, and the spark mace is a solid weapon. I guess I'll go with the spark mace, try it out. One thing I do wish about this game is that I would be able to get a lot more jade circlets, jade coins. What are they called? I cannot tell. But yeah, basically it's just very, very hard to get them, which is I think their way of making you want to be a bit more selective with what you spend them on, but I feel like they could do better. Make more ways to get them to try and avoid people just only unlocking what they enjoy. I mean, I could just do a very hard exploration. Very hards are a bit more enjoyable to me, so I think I'm just going to do that. They have a lot of the same modifiers, basically, but you just don't have the timer. And the timer is a bit stressful. This lets me kind of take a step back and actually commentate, because I'm no longer forced to just constantly be in it 100%. Though I probably shouldn't be doing that, seeing as it just got me hit on the very first room. May as well take it. I did kind of want that second hit to hit an enemy like that, where it would stun both of them that I dealt with. Which is one of the powerhouse effects of lightning, is that it staggers things, and it also does a massive critical hit, and so forth. These used to be so much more powerful, by the way. None of these I really want. I remember you. I will take minus 30% gold offering cost. It should help me actually afford gold offerings during this run, but it will mean I'm getting my first curse immediately. But yeah, those kind of gold reduction, or gold cost reductions there, sorry, are very, very nice for stat rooms, because it's just a multitude of effects, and you're actually not being forced to spend corruption on stats. Corruption on stats is just kind of a bad time. Though in fairness, when you get to the later points, it is kind of nice to only have to spend a small amount on it. That is the one thing with lightning that you just saw, is that it will set things off. Which you may not always want, and I will take the 4% HP because of that bad mistake that I made. I have no way of actually breaking those little wall barriers down. Could have baited the enemies into doing it for me, but I was lazy. Even without the the timer to death still on my back, I am still a lazy person. To a lot of degrees. But yeah. You know, I had the torch out and I didn't realize it. I forget that I believe every time you cross those kind of little jump barriers, it will just pull out your torch again. Which is a nice benefit for the most part when your torch is a use, but my torch has no use currently. Offer the blood. These are two pretty powerful relics. They're not really giving me damage though, and it's giving me a lot more curse than I'd like at this point, but I mean, hey. May as well get a bit zany with it. Really hate that curse. Thankfully it's showing up early so I can get rid of it early, but yeah, Shadow Word kind of sucks. Because I also can't light things on fire, meaning I can't deal with it as well. At least. In terms of life stuff going on, Thanksgiving is approaching, which is nice because I get a little bit of a break from some classes. Some classes I don't, which is unfortunate, but you know. Most classes at this time are just kind of wrapping up and prepping for finals, which is tolerable. So I should have a bit more time to stream. Haven't been able to consistently do that, just a mix of reasons. Some of it is effort, because with going towards finals, some of the classes have been having to rush out their homework because they were delaying it due to just online class not being a great medium for things. But now that they're actually making us do it, it's just a lot all at once. So I'm trying to make sure I keep up with it. I'll take the health. I haven't used the pistol at all, but it's still a moderately nice thing. Do I have... I don't believe I have the curse that activates all of the little Jaguar statues, but they're all active anyways. Then may just be part of very hard that I didn't pay attention to, but yeah. As you see, Shadow Word here is making it so I can't predictably figure out the enemies, and it leads to situations like that, where I get a bad hit in. That is why I consider this one of the worst curses, and especially in tandem with the other Torch. Torch of Sorrow is a very fine curse by itself, but with the added effect of I need to have light to be able to effectively plan how to deal with enemies, it kind of screws me. I could be very lazy with this room. I need the gold, so I'm not going to be, but yeah. Just know that the thought was there that I could just go up there and ignore this extra little bit here for more rewards, but I guess I should get the additional rewards. I know there's enemies over here somewhere. Got lucky and the spin attack hit something, but I then immediately went into spikes because I wasn't paying enough attention to the room. There's quite a lot of enemies here compared to what I expected. I'm gonna be real. Did end up taking a hit, which is unfortunate. I'm losing out on just HP in general as well as the dexterity benefit I would get otherwise, but yeah. Do I have no way to light this on fire? This should work actually. Yeah, I was a bit worried there that I wouldn't be able to get through this door, which leads to some of the extra gold, but yeah. Very minor amounts of gold, but I mean, more enemies, I guess they dropped stuff. More than that, I actually took damage, so it wasn't really worth it in the slightest. Oh, I don't know how I didn't get hit there. As you're seeing, Shadow Word makes everything a bit of a nightmare to deal with, because they'll also disappear if I don't deal with them, or don't keep them in my sights. Which just makes it that slight bit more of a nuisance. Honestly, as soon as I can remove Shadow Word, I am going to, because it's cost me a lot of bad hits already. And I kind of hate it for it. I feel like there was a weapon upgrade that I was supposed to go grab. I think that's right there. So I couldn't have done this optimal path that I thought I could. I was just not paying enough attention. Well, whatever, I can go to the question mark room after. I am just very tired for some reason. I'm streaming much earlier than I normally would. It's only about 11 o'clock at night where I am, but yeah. It should be interesting all the same, though. Though I'm not the most entertaining person all the time, I do try and make my content somewhat interesting, just by talking either about what I'm doing to try and kind of make it at least informative, or by talking about my life to make it at least tolerable. I keep forgetting that I don't just stun on the combo effect like I did before. It's a bit hard to get out of that mindset that I have just to get out of jail free available to me constantly, but I should get used to it again. I've lost well more health than I should have at this early stage in the game, but for the most part, while the early game is a very big part, because I have Serpent's Bounty, sorry, it means that I will have the opportunity to make up any losses I got, basically, because of how much the boss drop will give me. Everything just kind of died. I am going to take this, just because it gives me a way to break walls, as well as charge attack is kind of nice. +1 on main weapon, very solid. Glad I got a useful thing out of this early set, because it should give me some benefit even if I do end up swapping out this mace. Yeah, damage against uninjured. I was trying to remember what the second prefix was, or affix I should call it. Gotta be careful not to waste too much stamina here, just because he likes to do this pattern, immediately followed by running back to mid to do that. I just like having enough stamina to deal with the Jaguars. As you see there, lightning just giving me a bit of extra damage every time I do my full combo. Very generous dodge window in this game, which I always appreciate because I make a lot of mistakes myself, but hey, it's what you do. You keep playing games like this, you keep playing any game, and you will eventually get better. You just have to put in that effort to try and learn what you might have done wrong and what you could do better. Yeah, Shadow Word, get out of here. Is that 5 relics? It's 5 relics. Huh. Very, very powerful relic there. Gold offering cost? Sure. I just looked at the same one. I don't really care about environment kills. Enemy attacks do less corruption. Or, I mean, I guess we could take it over this for now. I probably should have looked at this first, but I am not going to take this because I'm not using throwing weapons anyways, so it's fine. Okay, what do I need out of this? Double weapon upgrade is kind of nice. I don't have enough gold to do much though, so I could do this route, or I could do this route. I think this route would make the most sense because it gives me the option to sway over to either getting both of these or getting one of these. And now that I look at this, this route also comes with either a heal or a bonus amount of gold at the end, which is very nice. It's good to have options like that just because of how powerful they are. Since I have now killed the first boss, I will be getting elites. So I just have to keep aware of them. As you see there, with any kind of lightning effect, you're able to just very easily connect the dots with enemies and either hit multiple at once or chain the lightning effect through multiple, which gives you a very solid damage boost on top of just giving you a bit of a free interrupt. Not as free as the cursed weapon I was using the last run, but very solid all the same. And I believe the lightning damage always crits unless that was changed. I haven't been paying enough attention to know, but yeah. I'm looking forward to the day when I'm confident enough in my own skill to just... I've seen people go through the entire temple without getting hit once, and that's kind of my goal, is to be good enough to do that kind of thing. Without the timer here, it's very relaxing, and that's kind of an interesting thing, is playing that mode makes you... It's probably the best way to get better, obviously. You're having all that pressure and all those extra effects on you that are working against you, and just trying to learn to deal with them is a big part of it. But boy, does it feels good not having to worry about it, and you understand a bit more of the mechanics of enemies in that way. I am going to go for another relic here just because I may as well. But yeah, the reason why I offered gold there over corruption is I could have offered 70 corruption, but there's a decent chance I wouldn't be able to afford one of these weapon upgrades anyways, which I'm just going to spend corruption for, either way. I could honestly bring this mace to the end of the game just because it's at least moderately okay, so I mean, it works. As well as the fact that I keep getting a lot of support for it, which I mean I appreciate. Get more gold offering costs, but no, I'm not going to give up anything for that. I do want to at least get more gold if at all possible. I have very low perception for what I normally get, but that's fine, because I also have very absurd decks at this point. But yeah. There was a time where I just wouldn't go to this room, because sometimes I just didn't trust myself to deal with the mix of the spikes and the Jaguar statues. There's some variations of that little back room that have more Jaguar statues, and it was just kind of a nuisance when I was just starting out this game. Obviously traps are no longer my main priority, as they're fairly straightforward to dodge for the most part once you understand them and understand where they are. Like this one, I know I can go over here to a safe space, and then over here to another safe space, and so forth. I could bring myself to the final curse for this. I've never done a run like that, and I kind of want to do that run now that I'm given the opportunity to. It's literally a race against time is what that run style is, but I think I'm going to do it. It's a very bad decision to have it with my current build, but hey, it'll be fine. Well, Temple's Bite is something I can remove, so I'm fine with that, I guess, but I just really hate it, because they're now just the rhythmic pattern rather than being activated, and that's one of those things. You get used to traps how they are normally, and then suddenly you're forced to deal with this new style with them. And it throws you off enough that you get bad hits. And obviously you don't want bad hits, because they're just hits. Hits that are not good. I am going to break this open. Oh, wait. How do you get over there? I still have yet to learn how to get over there. That may just be a later part of the dungeon, but I'm not entirely sure, because I hate this so much. It's just so worrying doing it. Yeah, it is the later part of the dungeon. I'm just dumb. I was expecting it to kill itself by... Yeah, I was expecting it to blow up the barrel by itself, so I didn't really worry about finishing it, just making sure it was in range to finish itself. The amount of gold I am getting from this gold room does make me pretty confident that I'll be able to get at least one of the upgrades, if not both, from the weapon upgrade room. As you see, the bonus damage against uninjured does mean that some of my attack patterns will just one-shot if I use them first. I don't have room for just a basic dexterity bonus. Bow would be nice, but free constitution is nicer. That's 100 free health. Like, if I can take that and keep my heavy weapon, which lets me break things, since I'm not using a bow actively, it's just a nice benefit. As you see there, I was able to hit the Jaguar once and then come back to it later and be entirely fine. And I am able to one-shot dead wives, which is an important thing to know if I do my charge attack on them. I spent stamina charging it up and thought, oh, let me just dodge instead of letting go. I should have just let go and walked, because that would have given me a chance at dealing with it. My stamina, I'm just not keeping well enough track at this point. I'm taking a couple bad hits to it. Oh yeah, for sure I'm going to be able to afford this. But yeah, I am, for this stream and for YouTube, I am trying to figure out how to get music for this, because though I talk for the most part, and though this game has interesting sound, it does get a bit monotonous at times. So obviously, a change of pace would be nice. But it's just very... I don't want to go too deep into that at this point, just because of how much DMCA has been affecting YouTube recently, as well as Twitch now has been getting a lot of issues with it, I've heard, and so I just want to be as careful as I can. I do believe groups like No Copyright Sound are literally just no copyright chance, but precaution is precaution. And until I can fully confirm it, I'd like to avoid it, if at all there. Oh wow, I did not realize I would be getting the extra stuff off perception. What is giving me plus 30 damage? Oh, my dex is at 72% damage, and this is giving me 18%, which puts me up to a solid 90. Huh. Challenger health, I'll take the challenge for extra gold. So during this run, I want to be getting my final curse just before the boss. So I'm going to be trying to keep track of my curse and making sure I actually get to that, just because I do want to make use of that cursed relic. I've never actually had a run use it, and it just sounds really fun if I was using it. Yeah, this is one of the runs that I've had the lowest perception in a while. Sorry about that. I take note of that perception now just because of how little extra I got. Oh, it's the boss. I forgot about you. I should, frankly, just parry him a bunch to try and get his drop, but also I'm lazy. I do see it takes up just such a massive, massive chunk of HP whenever I do the finishing combo. So I do just want to do that on their phase transition. I do end up getting a hit there. That was just bad decision making. That left me way too close to the enemy. But other than losing 2 decks and a little bit of health, or sorry, 1 dex and a little bit of health, it is nothing all that bad. Though, losing the greed streak is unfortunate. Temple's Bite, get out of here. I'm more than happy to get rid of Temple's Bite, quite frankly. Oh boy. Huh. This is just a nice shield, and honestly I would make that the main point of my build if I was in the mood to do it, but I'm not. I'll keep that because on the ground I should say, because it might be useful. I don't really want management for corruption at this point, so I'm just gonna ignore it. Do I have any other healing opportunities? No. I'm just gonna take the health just to make sure I'm comfortable when I get to the boss. I do have to make sure that I hit enough corruption. Because if I don't get the final curse, then that cursed, cursed relic is gonna do nothing. Obviously, having the final curse is very painful, but it will be the first time on my Twitch stream I have the final curse. Gotta do it for the content. You know? If you don't work to spice up the runs, who's going to besides me? As you saw there, I spent extra stamina because I started charging up, and then it did its attack jump, and I was like, I just want to be away from you. Quite frankly, I hate them. Oh hey, the auto parry went off mid-dodge. Cool. Fortunately, just spawned the ad there, but I should be able to get rid of a champion, but wasn't actually able to. There we go. I just badly timed my dodge there. Unfortunate. I keep missing out on these little bonuses to my dexterity, which would be very nice, and the occasional losses of health also lose me my greed streak, which limits my damage and limits my gold increase, but ultimately it's because I'm kind of overconfident in this run with how well it's been going. Like that. That is one of the big factors with Death and Jaguar you have to remember, as well as just very hard, is that the speed at which Elise attacks makes the Jaguar's already fast attack patterns even faster. Wait, I don't know if I can get enough. Wait a minute. That's a bit worrying. I don't know if I can get enough curse, which may mean that if I do want to hit it, I would have to take a bunch of extra hits for no reason. All Jaguar statues now shoot fireballs. They were already doing that anyways. You can't lie to me. Jaguar, be gone. So how am I going to increase my corruption at this point? This is a very tough decision. Oh, I know how to increase my corruption. Wait, can I not? Okay, I need to find a relic to drop that. I just reconsidered the fact that that has been what's controlling my corruption just immensely. Thought I had already gotten rid of it, as I had planned to, but apparently I didn't. So if I don't end up getting that, then you can blame me for it, but thankfully for this room at least, it won't matter as much because I'm already fully cleansed of corruption. Okay. Imagine darkness. If I look for other cursed ones, then I have a very solid chance of getting up to the point I need to be. Like this. It's entirely useless, but it's it's 90 corruption. So I am going to go out of my way to try and hit this greed mark. Yeah, I did drop the right one. Okay. I mean, if I do end up finding a cursed weapon before the end, I can make use of it. Okay. You're not a cursed weapon, you're just a great weapon. That dagger there is one of the better scaling weapons in the game. Next to the Warmonger's Claws, which scales off of Claws very nice. The Warmonger's Claws scales off of a very nice stat of Constitution, but that dagger there that scales off of Perception has a much higher base damage, so obviously gets better effects from the scaling. And it is one of those weapons that you can use to carry a run. Yeah, this is the best route to get corruption. I may just have to go to the relic room to try and get more corruption. Fool's Bounty is fine. Gold chest inflict corruption, which, give me gold chest please. Didn't realize I could do two spinning combos into each other. Keep getting auto parries here, which I mean I appreciate, but yeah. Don't appreciate getting hit, per se. Yeah, I'm now above the 10k gold threshold, which means I'm maxed out on... I am maxed out on my damage bonus. I've been committing a lot to getting this corruption here, and I don't think I'm gonna hit it. Gonna get 20, so that's 40. Gonna get an additional 40 here, because I believe that's the max you can get for doing these, which puts me at 80. If I get a cursed offering at this relic, then I will have enough. That is what I am seeing. Just be aware that there's a solid chance that I will not make it because I accidentally held onto that relic. I'm not going to take that, that would screw me over. Because currently I have a minor chance of actually getting the build to work, and I don't want to squander that chance. If at all possible. Die, Jaguar. I don't know why I'm committing so much to this. For the most part, it's for my own questioning, because I've seen that relic so many times, the plus 40 to all stats when you're under the final curse. I've just never known whether or not to consider it good. Because I'm like, the final curse, if it hasn't been changed from previous, you just take constant damage. I'm just gonna back off instead of finishing the combo to make sure I have enough stamina. I could have gone for a parry on one of his first attacks, but that was risky. And risk is effort. I have to offer blood. The extra health and damage is obviously nice as well, but, you know. So relic, I have the base chance and then 5 rerolls to get a cursed item. This is the area with the highest chance for a cursed relic, obviously being the third area, and with it coming the highest level of items, which obviously the cursed items are higher levels than the other items. 5 rerolls to get a cursed item. This is the area with the highest chance for a cursed relic, obviously being the third area, and with it coming the highest level of items, which obviously the cursed items are higher levels than the other items. I don't know if that's actually true, but I'm going to stick with it because it's held true enough for the time. Curses that affect the Jaguar Temples are honestly mostly negligible just because of the nature of how easy it is to pay attention to the Jaguar statues. They are very shiny, and they shoot fireballs. Don't want to give up corruption. I like how I'm trying so hard to get cursed. It is honestly quite entertaining to me. And I've only really had one experience with the final curse, so obviously this is just another good chance at seeing it, because the build that I used to run made use of the relic that gives me 120 curse threshold rather than the current base of 100. But yeah. Okay, so first chance out. Use favor is R. Second chance out. There we go. I'm just gonna take it now. It's 9 Constitution. I don't need Perception, so I may as well. Please tell me I got the numbers right, and this pushes me over. Yep. And I've never been double corrupted before, so I guess that'll be a thing to see. Oh boy. Boss. 100 corruption. Volatile remains and Zabel's Truth. Volatile remains as enemies killed while burning explode after a short time. Health drops over time until it reaches 1 HP. Okay, so it doesn't kill you. It just brings you to absolute HP. I'm gonna pause it right when I get out. Holy heck. Okay, yeah, let's look over the build before I go into this final thing. Plus 3,800 health, plus 168% damage, and 245% gold find. 2 plus 4 on the torch. That is incredible. 32 plus 88 on the spark hammer, 49 plus 116 on the Aegis, and whatever this is, 45 plus 102. Obviously these massive stats coming from the Crown of the Cursed King. This is literally here because I was pushing so hard to get curse levels. This was just a nice drop I got early on. Another one here for extra damage. Level plus 1 on main weapon. It's obviously benefiting this, and this is giving me 60% damage boost. Curses, Torch of Sard, actually kind of helps me for the most part. Raging Temple does nothing here. Fool's Bounty does nothing here. Volatile Remains does nothing here. And finally, Zabel's Alok's Truth. There we go. Yeah, basically just gonna constantly deplete my health. So have fun with watching this, because it's not gonna be good. That is scary that he can do that attack in there. I forgot that he could. But yeah, doing very, very solid amounts of damage here, thanks to, plus the immense amounts that I have. But yeah. Did a precautionary overcorrection there, and I feel I was validated. Without the timer in the background, this fight does get a bit easier. So obviously I can still make some basic mistakes, like mismanaging my stamina and failing dodges. By the way, what you shouldn't do what I'm doing. You should always parry in this fight, if at all possible, because of how rhythmic his attacks are. They're one of the easier bosses to just really avoid. On the final hit. There we go. Cool. Just kind of a funny run. I put all my effort into getting the final curse rather than avoiding it. But yeah, I'm gonna get my massive bounty of crystal skulls and very, very few, I believe 5 jade circlets, jade rings. I took so much damage without ever really getting hit. 24,000 gold found, 511 damage in single hit. 0 extra damage taken in darkness. That's mostly because I just immediately got the Torch of Sorrows, which removes extra damage in darkness. Oh. That was a fun run more than anything. I see the sword there. I'm going to look at the other things first. This is very solid actually, 1% HP as well as 10% base damage. The whip also gives some weaken, and the bow is just kind of there. That one's kind of meh, and then obviously the cursed one. This does very little, this does very little, but this. Though actually this one isn't as good because it has 10% damage per active curse rather than just the flat double damage. It's good at times, but not as good at others. But yeah, I think that's a good note to end it on. A very fun run to have done. I'm obviously aiming to get more jade rings so I can unlock these other items. I still need to figure out how to unlock this whip. I believe it may just be another drop from the twins, but I'll have to figure that out. Oh yeah, Moonblade Knight Sword, so there's probably the whip the Sunform uses. But yeah. Thank you very much to anyone who came out to watch the stream. I hope you had a good time. I know I did. And to anyone who was watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed. And to both audiences, to everyone in general, I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, whatever it is for you. Have a blessed rest of your evening. Goodbye.